Hello, my name is Anita Thompson. I am a digital engineer for the Nevada Department of Ed. I am also a middle school computer science teacher in the Clark County School District. And I'm going to go over some basic features of Google Classroom, as well as how to get started with setting up your own class. And then my partner is going to go over some other features that you can do with it as well. So getting started with Google Classroom, there's multiple ways you can get there. You can Google it, you can type in the URL classroom.google.com, or you can find it in the waffle. This is where all your Google apps are going to be housed. So mine is further down, yours may be further up towards the top, since you'll be using your education domain. So when you sign on to Google Classroom for the first time, you're going to get a couple of pop-ups. One, just verifying the email address that you will be using with it. Most likely it will be your district email. And then your second window that will appear will ask you if you are a student or a teacher. So once you select that you're a teacher, it's going to take you to this window here. Now yours is going to be blank. And you will need to click up here, the plus sign. At stands for create or join a class. So you are going to create a class. Now since you are most likely using your Google school district domain, you will not get this pop-up here. So when you create your class, you will need to name it. And you can name it for secondary teachers. And for elementary teachers who departmentalize, you can simply name it with the content area you teach. If you are an elementary teacher who teaches all subjects, you can simply name it your name with the grade you teach. For example, Ms. Thompson's first grade class. Then you can put your section. Your section may be your period number, those who departmentalize, your block number. And then you are able to put in your subject and your room number if you like. It's not mandatory. So once you name your classroom, it's going to appear right up here. And it's going to look like this. It will show you how many students you have in your class. When you create yours, it's going to show 0 students. So then when you click on it, it takes you right to the stream. The stream serves as the home page for your classroom. This is exactly what your students are going to see when they sign on to your class as well. This is where all your announcements are going to be housed. This is where any upcoming assignments are going to be housed. This is where your students are going to go to for information. Now up here, this is where you can customize your classroom. You can make it your own, put your own little flair to it. You can change the theme by clicking Select Theme. They have them arranged in different categories. This one is non-content specific, but we also have English and History, Math and Science, the Arts, including the Culinary Arts, Sports, and Other. Other may serve as your specialized courses, such as your CTE or your magnet courses. It can also be used for a club that you may be advising. Now, if none of these images appeal to you, you can upload your own photo. Keep in mind there is specificity as to the size that is allowed. Now you need to already have your photo downloaded onto your computer, and then you'll be able to select it. Also up here, this is where your class code is going to be housed. This is what your students are going to need to join your class. You can give it to them, have them write it down, send it to them, or if you are able to be in a position where you will be in class with your students this fall, you can click on this box right here and you can make it bigger so students can actually type it in and join your class right then and there. You can also invite students to join your class, and I will go over that in just a few minutes. Also, what's going to appear is a Google Meets link. You can generate a link right away. Google Classroom has integrated with Google Meets to make virtual office hours much easier and robust. So by clicking here, it will automatically generate a link for you. By clicking this icon right here, you'll be able to make it visible for students. Now, until you make it visible, the link will not show on student side at all. But once you do make it visible, it will appear, and it has been set up to where students cannot join your Meet unless you were there. And it also has been set up to where students cannot rejoin once they exited and once you've exited as well. Now, all of your announcements that you have posted here, including assignments, they will be listed going down your page. You can also make it so that you can have a condensed version of your announcements or assignments that looks like this, or you can have the full version, which will include attachments as well. So that will be in the settings, and my partner will go over that as well. Now, if you have upcoming assignments due, it will appear right over here in this window, and students will be able to see that once they sign on to Classroom. That way they will always be reminded of their assignments, and they'll be able to keep track of them. It will also appear right in this window as well. Now, when you go to post an assignment, the most recent will appear at the top, and it'll just work its way down. So to post an assignment, you can, or an announcement, you can click here. And once you type your announcement, this will become blue, in which you'll be able to post. You can add an attachment to it. You can add a file from your Google Drive, a link, a file from your computer, or a YouTube video. Best thing about Classroom is that it syncs very nicely with all the Google apps, especially including YouTube. Now, if you want to send your announcements to all of your periods at once, or to all the periods within the same content area, you can do that by clicking this box right here, and it will list all of your periods, and then you will just check the box of the ones you want the announcement posted to, and it will post it to them at once at the same time. Now, if you only want a certain number of students receiving a specific announcement, you're going to click here on this drop-down arrow, and it'll have all your students listed. Just check the box of which ones you want receiving the announcement. If you want everybody to receive it, then you can just leave all students checked. And then that will automatically keep them checked as it is defaulted that way. Now, when you're ready to post, you can simply click post here, or if you want to schedule it out so it posts at a certain time, click this drop-down arrow right here, and you're going to click schedule. Now, you'll be able to choose the date and choose the time. So if you're an advanced planner and you know exactly what you're going to be doing in December, you can just simply go to that month and choose your date. And you can choose the time as well. Now, the only thing is, if you are posting to multiple periods at once, you cannot schedule. You cannot use the schedule feature. So in that case, you would have to do each individual period one at a time. And that is because each of your periods start at different times. Once you're ready to post, you can just click post. Now, if you are in the planning stages and you're not ready to post, you can click save draft. and it will save up here at the top for you. And you'll be able to get back to it later and finish what you started. Now, the draft will not appear on the student side at all. Nothing will appear until you click post. And you will be notified right before an announcement is posted if you chose to schedule it. If you decided that you want to go a different direction and you don't want to continue your draft, you can just hit the trash can and it will delete it. So this covers the stream. I'm going to go ahead and cover people, the people tab. This is where you'll see all of your students listed. This is where you'll see yourself, and if you have any co-teachers, you'll see them listed as well. So with your students, you can do multiple things. You can send a mass email by clicking actions and click email. It will automatically generate a Gmail, and all of your students will be included under the BCC. If you want to email students individually, you can just click the 3 dots here and click email student. Same thing if you want to email one of your teachers that you're sharing a classroom with, just click the 3 dots and click email. To add students, you will click this icon right here, and you will need to type their name, or if you know their email, type their email. And their name should appear if you're searching for people within your domain. Now you can send a mass invite to all of your students at once. You just need to type in all of their names and have them listed here. And then you'll be able to click invite. They will receive an email notifying them that they've been invited to join your classroom. And when they sign on to Classroom, they will see your classroom appear right here. And it will say accept and decline. So we'll give them the option to do both. Now with adding teachers, let's say you have a co-teacher, or you have a push-in teacher, a gate teacher working with you. If you have an aide working with you and you want to give them access to your classroom, you just click on this icon up here and invite teachers the same way you invite students. Type in their name, and it should appear because they'll be within your domain, and then click invite. And they will be emailed notifying them that they have been invited to join your class. And they will show up right here. So they will have access to see all of your students, see all of their work. They will have access to all of the assignments and announcements you've posted. They will be able to comment on student work as well. All the access that you as a primary teacher has, your co-teacher will also have the same access. Now you can even invite parents and guardians to track their child's progress. You will have a link that says invite guardians right here. Now I'm not using my school district's domain, that's why it's not shown here, but it will be shown. And then once you click it, you'll be able to add your parent or guardian's email address for each student, and they'll be emailed letting them know that they've been invited to participate within your classroom. If they accept, their email address will appear here, and everything you post, they will get notified, and they'll be able to keep track of whether or not their child turned in work, has any missing assignments. They'll be able to see upcoming assignments, and they'll be able to see their child's grades as well. So it's a good way to help keep the student accountable on both the teacher side, the student side, and the parent and guardian side. So this covers people within Google Classroom. My partner is going to take over, and she's going to cover the rest of the features of Google Classroom.
Hello everybody, my name is Lauren Engel. I am a digital engineer with the Nevada Department of Education. I also teach AP Statistics and NYP Geometry. So I'm a high school math teacher in the Clark County School District. I want to thank my partner Anita. She gave us a great start with Google Classroom. I'm going to show you a couple other features. Specifically, I'm going to be looking at the settings. I'm also going to show you the Classwork tab and the Grades tab up here at the top of the screen. That's where you'll create assignments for your students and be able to see and give them grades on things that they turn into you. Okay, so very first thing I'm going to look at is the Settings tab. Settings typically is represented with this little clock cog wheel up in the top right corner of your screen. So that's where I'm going to go. So I'm going to click on that in the Settings tab. So there's a lot of different things that you'll see when you get into your class settings. The very first thing is this Class Details area. When you set up your class, the first couple the areas here will already be filled in because you named your class already, and you may have set a section, maybe your room number, and put possibly your subject area there. The one thing that doesn't show up when you first set up your classroom is the class description. So I use this area to put my contact information as well as my tutoring hours. It's just a place for you to get into a little bit more detail about what your class is. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and scroll down a little bit. Next section that comes up is this general section. Anita already told you about the class code. So this is my class code. You can click on these little arrows and it gives me a couple of options here. So the display option is similar to the one that Anita showed you on the stream, that it makes your class code really, really big. So if you are in your classroom physically with your students, that you can have them join and add your class. You can also click full screen, which will make it really, really large to project that up for your students on the screen. You can also from here copy your class code. So say you wanted to send it in an email to your students or to your parents, maybe your administrator wants to be able to see what you're doing, you can copy it and send the class code to them in an email. Next that comes up is the stream. So what Anita was talking about when she was talking about the stream is the condensed version versus the full version. You can look at that here on this section that says classwork on the stream. So what the automatic default is condensed notifications. But if you want your students and your stream to show all of the attachments that you've added to announcements or assignments, you can do that here. You can also choose to hide notifications. I typically keep the condensed notifications just so my stream isn't super busy. Another thing that you can decide to change for your students is how much they are allowed to interact with the stream. So you as the teacher obviously can post and comment on anything in your Google Classroom, but you can choose what you want students to be able to do. So for me, I have mine set for students to be able to post and comment. If you want to give your students a little bit of boundary, you may want to select this option where students can only comment on posts, and then you can also select this that only teachers can post or comment. I recommend that you give students the ability to comment at the very least on posts, so that way if you post something that they have a question about, that they can do that. A couple other options that show up here are showing your deleted items and then guardian summaries. So if you have guardians that are attached to your students, which Anita showed you in the previous part of this video on the People tab, what you can do is you can turn on guardian summaries and it will automatically send an email to the guardian, whomever that is, attached to your individual students about what they've turned in Google Classroom that week, maybe what's missing, upcoming due dates, things like that. Google has this lovely link right here that says See Example, which you can click on and read a little bit more about that. This general section also has your Meet code that, again, if you you click visible to students, then they will be able to join as long as you are there. Last part of the settings tab is this grading area. So you have a couple of options for doing grades in Google Classroom. You can choose to select no overall grade, which is what I have right now. You can choose to select total points or weighted by category. Okay, so when you select total points, that would be whatever their grade is the number of points they have out of the total number of points available. And then weighted by category is, say you have formative versus summative grades. I could include a category here, which would weight everything formative at 30%, and everything summative at 70%. The way that you do that is by adding grade categories. So if you click add grade category, this will pop up. So say I wanted to add a formative category and I want it to be 30% of their final grade, and then I have summative and I want that to be 70% of their final grade. What's really nice about Google Classroom, especially when you're setting up these grade categories, is it will make sure that you don't go under or over 100%, which is great. Okay, and then if you want students to be able to see their actual grade percentage, you can click this little toggle button right here. All right, so I've switched over to our model classroom. This one's pretty empty, pretty barren. This is what you will see when you first start a Google Classroom. So we're gonna look at the Classwork tab, which is right up here in the top. So I'm gonna click on my Classwork tab. And right now it's very blank, but we're gonna add some things to it. So the Classwork tab is very useful for organizing your course. The stream is mostly for announcements. This is where you typically want to create assignments, post any materials. It's a helpful organizational tool. So very first thing that you want to do is click this little create button, and you have lots of options here. You can create assignments, quiz assignments, questions, materials. If you have old classes, you can reuse posts that you've already created, say in a previous year. But the first thing I'm going to start with is a topic. So a topic is like a header, and it'll help you organize your classroom. There are lots of different ways that I've seen teachers do this. I personally do this by assignment type. So I'll have a topic for quizzes, a topic for homework, a topic for classroom notes. I've seen other teachers do it by unit, so everything for one unit would go in one place. So let's say I wanted to do that here for this classroom. So I'm going to say this is Unit 1, Google Classroom Basics. Right, and I'm going to click Add. As soon as I click Add, it shows up. But until I post something in the topic, the students will not be able to see it. Another way I've seen teachers do topics is by subject type. So if you are an elementary school teacher, you could have a topic for math, a topic for English, reading, science, social studies, specials, all of that fun stuff. And another thing I want you to notice is as soon as I created a topic, it shows up here on the left-hand side of my screen. And if I click on that, it would show me everything that I posted under that particular topic. So I'm going to switch really quickly over to my previous course to show you an example of a Classwork tab that's completely filled in. So this is for my AP Statistics course. One thing that I find very helpful is I put a helpful resources topic at the very top. So things that I'm going to need all year, I put at the very top. And then I have all of these other topics. And if I click on them on the side here, so say I wanted to view my AP test review, I can click on that, and this shows everything that I've posted in my Classwork tab under AP Test Review. And this is the expanded version. What you saw before under all topics was the condensed version, which is how Google Classroom automatically sets this up for you. So say I'm scrolling, and then I notice, oh no, actually I want my class notes to be much higher on the screen. So a neat thing that you can do with your topics, and you can also do them with assignments once you've created them, is you can click on them and drag them and move them around the screen. So say I wanted to move this up higher, say I wanted it to be the next thing that my students saw. I can move it, and now that topic is closer to the top of my screen. So you can reorder. And you also see that it changes the order here on the left-hand side. Let's switch back over and look at creating our first assignment. So there are lots of different types of assignments that you can create. So we're going to start just with a basic assignment right here. So I'm going to click on it. When you first start your Google Classroom, these lovely pop-ups come up and will walk you through some things. But I'm going to show it to you, so I'm going to X out of it here. So this is what creating an assignment in Google Classroom looks like. Obviously you have a title, so let's just call this our first assignment. And then you have the ability to add instructions. So maybe say, tell us about your summer vacation. What did you do? Right, something like that. Then over on the right-hand side is where you're going to see most of your settings and specific things for the assignment. So the 4 is talking about who you want to post this assignment to. So say I didn't actually want to post this to everyone, I only wanted to post it to this student. I have the ability to do that. Similar to how you can post announcements in the stream to multiple classes at once, I can also do that here. You can select multiple, if you have multiple periods, multiple classes, you can post assignments automatically to everyone at once by selecting here. I obviously only have one class. When you do it through your school account, you'll have more classes that show up here once you've created them. Grade category will show up if you added grade categories in settings. So say I want this to be a formative assignment, which is how I set up my gradebook. And then you can type here how many points you want it to be. So let's say I want it to be 5 points. You can also select it as an ungraded assignment. You can select that option. You can select a due date and time. So say I want this to be due on July 17th. And once you select a date, you can add a time. But the time is completely optional. You can type in and change that time. Once you've created topics, you can add the assignment to that topic, or you can create a topic right from there, right from the assignment. Okay. And then I haven't even gotten to one of my favorite things about Google Classroom, which happens on these assignments, which is this lovely button, the ability to add things. So just like on the stream, you can add a Google Drive link, a link, a file maybe that you have on your computer, or a video on YouTube. I'm gonna select Google Drive here and just add a random, I don't know, let's just pick this one and say add. So one of the great things about assignments in Google Classroom is that you have the ability to select how students interact with that document. So if you just want students to be able to view the file, so you don't want them to be able to change it, you can select students can view file. If you want students to be able to edit the file, you can select that. But my favorite is this, make a copy for each student. So what Google Classroom will do is it will make a copy of this document for every single student, and it will put their name on it in the title of the document so that they know it's their document, and they are the only people that can edit that document other than you, obviously, or any other teachers that you have set up in your Google Classroom. They're the only ones that can edit it unless they share it with someone else. If you haven't already made a document or a template that you want the students to work out of, you can create it directly from the assignment interface here You can create a document, a slide presentation, sheets, a drawing, a Google form, lots of things that you can do. So let's say that this looks good. I'm happy with this. So I'm going to say assign, but notice you do have this little click down arrow, so you can choose, just like on the stream, to schedule the assignment for later or save the draft. Maybe you're not quite done with it yet. So I'm going to click assign. And as soon as I click assign, it's going to take it a moment because it's creating a copy of a document for each student. So here's the assignment. A couple of other things that you can choose to assign your students. You can do a quiz assignment, which has essentially the same interface, but it will create a Google form for you. Typically, I will create the Google form if I wanted to do a quiz, for example, for my students. I will create that form first and then just attach it as a regular assignment. You can also add a question. So let's click on that. Let me show you what that interface looks like. So here is a possible question. You can choose if you want the question to be a short answer or a multiple choice. If you choose multiple choice, then it will give you the space to add options. Just like on the assignments, you can add documents or videos or links. So this is a good way to, if you just wanted to ask students one question about maybe a video that you assigned, you can add the video, ask the question, and then students can respond to it. Just like the assignments, you have the same for grade category, due date, and topic. When you have a multiple choice question, you can click on or off if you want students to be able to see this class summary of how many people or what percentage chose the first option, second option. When you click a short answer, you also have this second click box that comes up where you can decide, yes, I want students to be able to edit their answers or not. Okay. One last type of thing that you can post for students is a material. So you would post a material, for example, if you just wanted students to be able to view something, you're not going to grade it. It's just a reference material for them to go back to. So this interface has a lot less on it. Obviously still has the title, description. You can still add, create different things. But over here, it's not being graded. So you just would select how many people you want to post it for and what topic it goes under. Next, right, say you have all of your lovely assignments set up and you want to view them. So when you click on an assignment that you've created here under the Classwork tab, this is what will show up for you. It'll show your description, the grade category, if you have any, how many students have turned it in, how many students it has been assigned to. So I'm going to go ahead and click on View Assignment so you can see this View Assignment interface, which is another place, or one of the places rather, that you can grade student work from. So I'm going to talk about this interface a little bit and the aspects of it. So when you assign something to a student, especially if you've created a copy of something for them, or maybe if they've attached something once they've turned it in, it will show up right here. It'll have a label on it as to what the current assignment status is. So for these two students, it has just been assigned. They haven't turned it in. Once they turn it in, it will show up here. Once you grade it, it will have a label of graded. Over on the left-hand side, you can decide to sort your students different ways. So the automatic default is to sort by status, meaning assigned versus turned in versus graded and returned. But you can also decide if you want to sort them by last name or by first name. All right. If you want to be able to see what students have turned in, you can just click on the individual student, and this is your interface that will show up. So it will show their copy. Notice this is Claire's copy of this document that I've made. And then there's lots of places that you can add comments, and you can grade from here. So say I want to give Claire a 5. I think she did great on this assignment, and I can add a comment for her that says, great job, right? And I can say post, and that will be sent to her. You can also add comments to a comment bank, which is here. So if there's a comment that you provide to students often, so say I tell students, amazing work, if I could spell. Say I say that really often. I can, once it's there, copy it and then paste it directly to private comments, right? And then once the student has the assignment graded, it will show your grade up here in the top of your screen, and it'll say draft. The reason it says draft is because you haven't returned it to the student yet. That would be like you physically handing a graded paper back to them. So once I click return, that assignment and the grade will be sent to this student, right? And you can choose to return this submission, or maybe you just want to grade everything and then you'll return multiple submissions at once. So this is one place that you can grade student assignments from. You can also just enter their grades right from this interface here. So say I'm looking at Heidi's and I'm saying, oh, Heidi didn't do as well on this. I'm going to give her a 4 out of 5. And then after that, it's still saved as draft. Right? See, it says draft here. And the reason it says that is because I haven't returned it to my students yet. So once I click return, okay, they haven't submitted it, obviously, here. Normally, you would not see this pop up because your students would have turned in the assignment and then you would return it to them. If, let me unclick here and go back to see all students. So if you have a student that turn something in late, that is a label that will show up. And if it is past due and the students haven't turned it in, it will show up as missing here and also over here. And one final thing that you can do from this assignment interface is click the little settings tab right here. You can download all of your grades as a CSV, which is very similar to like an Excel file or a Google Sheets file. You can download all of your grades, just those grades, or you can copy them to a Google Sheet if you want to. So that is our assignment interface. Very, very easy to use. Another thing that you can do in the assignment interface is email certain students if you want to remind them that this assignment is due in 2 days or something, or maybe you want to give them overall comments or instructions. You can send them an email from this interface also. And then I'm going to go back to my Classwork tab here, because the last thing I want to show you under the Classwork tab is these 2 buttons here, Google Calendar and Google Drive. The assignment that I created is right down here. So this is your Google Calendar, and it will show you anything that you assign that has a due date. It will show up here on your Google Calendar, as well as on your students' Google Calendars, so that they have the ability to keep track of their own due dates, which is lovely. And then another button that you can click here is your Class Drive folder. So when you create a Google Classroom, a Drive folder is created for you automatically. And it'll be under the folder Classroom. It'll be created for you automatically. Every assignment that you make has its own folder, and when I click in the folder, this is another place where I can see all of my students' information, all of their assignments that they've submitted right here in this folder. And then anything that you posted with a template will also show up here. And you do not have to create these, they are created automatically for you. All right, so here we are on a sample filled in grades tab. This, like I said, is a previous class of mine so that you can see, once you have a bunch of assignments, what your grading tab will look like. You've seen that you can grade assignments through that assignment interface. This is another place, the grading tab, that you can access those assignments by clicking their title right up here. They're ordered, your assignments are ordered by due date. So your newest due date will be on the left, and the older due dates get further and further and further to the right as you go. You can see if you've assigned a score, like that this was an assignment out of 5 or out of 20. It will show up right here, right underneath the title of your assignment. All right. You can also click this 3-dot toggle button, and this will reveal more options. If you want to see more options in Google Classroom, you want to look for this symbol right here, is these 3 vertical dots. Okay. A couple other things that you'll see on your grading tab is at the very top, you'll have a class average. So these that I have here that you see on the screen right now, I'll say NA because they were ungraded. They were just questions I asked my students, but this assignment, for example, was out of 40. This is the class average for this assignment. So this test, for example, class average was 97.7. This test, 76.5, etc. All right. This is where you can view all of your students at once and all of their assignments at once and see what's missing, what's turned in, was it turned in late, things like that. So you'll see a couple of different labels. First, this missing label, that means a student hasn't turned it in, and it'll show up red. If the student has turned it in, it will show up green and it'll say turned in. If they turned it in late, it will say turned in but done late right here. And then once you grade it, it will show their grade right here. Like you saw earlier in the video, that you can grade things from that assignment interface, but you can also grade things directly from this grades tab if you want to. You can also select more options right here. Once you type a grade in, you can return it or you can view the submission, and that will take you back to that one student at a time interface where we were able to add comments and things before. Okay. That's pretty much it for the grades tab. The only other thing, obviously, is you have the ability to sort either by last name or first name, depending on how your roster is set up. So that's the grades tab. The only other place where you may see grades pop up is in the stream, and I do want to point that out to you really quickly. You have this upcoming box on the left of your screen on the stream tab. For you as a teacher, it will show work that is due soon that you have assigned. For students, it will show the same thing. So it will show work that is coming up, that's due soon, and what the due date is. If I click View All, it will show me all of the assignments that I have made in one list. And it'll show me again how many students have turned it in, how many are assigned, and how many have I graded. Okay, and then from here, you can click again, there's more options, and you can say mark as reviewed. So say I'm done, I've already graded it, then it's going to go into my reviewed tab up here. This is helpful when you have a full course, a full year-long course, but maybe you give grades every semester or every quarter. So you can mark assignments as reviewed so that you know which assignments are there for that quarter or that semester only. For students, this will show them all of their assignments, whether they were graded, if they've turned them in, if they're missing. So this is a great place for students to see all of their missing assignments. All right, so that is it for the basics of Google Classroom. There should be a card at the end of the video that has my contact information as well as Anita's contact information. Please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions about Google Classroom or maybe want to know how we use it. We're happy to answer any of your questions.